All right, welcome back to another episode of Chally and the Boys. I am your host, Stephen Chalicombe, and joined with me tonight is one of the co-hosts, Will. Our other co-host is still out frolicking in the fields, I guess, if you will.
Mm.
Um, and what we got for y'all tonight is going to be some free agency talk. So we had a pretty busy day on what is technically day two
Holy
of
cow.
free agency or legal tampering, whatever you want
Tampering
to call
period.
it. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, so yeah, we definitely got some good stuff for you guys. But before we start, Will, what'd you have for dinner?
I actually made meatloaf and mashed potatoes.
Okay, what do you put in your
Great
meatloaf?
gravy from scratch. Uh, onion, ground
You
mustard,
said ground beef and
garlic.
onion.
That's it.
Ground beef, onion, and mustard.
Ground mustard,
Okay. All right. It's
right?
bold, I guess.
Yellow, yeah, it was yellow mustard, whatever, you know what
Okay.
I'm saying?
All
Ground
right.
yellow
The people
mustard.
have heard enough of your dog shit
All right.
meatloaf, so we'll
I
just get
just,
into
this,
it.
it's, okay.
Um, so I got the list of, I guess, essentially transactions since we've had departures, returns, and an addition. Um,
Yeah.
I'm going to go in my order of least impact to I think most impact.
Okay.
Not for any real reason, but let's just see if you agree with me here. So I'm going to go with the departure of Luke Gifford being the least impactful of all of these moves so far.
Okay.
Um, in the grand scheme of things, I think I was a little shocked to see Luke Gifford go. Right, I think got a deal for 2 years, $5 million, $2.5 million. Yeah, I guess you're really not probably interested in paying just a special teamer $2.5 million. But again, in
Yeah.
the grand scheme of things, because we'll talk about Noah Brown leaving, who he was more than a special teamer, but he did have a huge role in special teams, and I think with having two of these key special teamers leave, maybe we're going to see C.J. Goodwin also finally move on. So that's why I say in the
Oh,
grand
yeah.
scheme of
Okay.
things, maybe
Yeah,
this
yeah,
could
yeah,
be
yeah.
a pretty big move. But right now, I think Luke Gifford is the least impactful. What do you have? Do you have anything significant for Luke, Mr. Gifford?
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna probably agree on this, or we're gonna, be very close. Is that him and probably the next person you have on the list, as far as impact, Oh, I guess you said both of them, right? But him and Brown.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both good players to have on the team. But I just think that they just need to. They're gonna draft their replacements and save the multiple millions of dollars, per player, and just replace them that way, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, yes, I agree. I think what we don't agree though is my next player on as far as impact is not going to be Noah Brown. I think the departure of Connor
Okay.
McGovern is going to be least impactful or less impactful than the departure of Noah Brown.
Oh,
Um, and not to debate on the impactfulness of Connor McGovern, but um,
hmm.
so you made actually an interesting comment. So in our group text, not to quote you or anything, but you pretty much said you were surprised Dallas did not, or at least not that we saw a report of, was not willing to match what he got paid. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, he's getting paid more than Connor Williams got paid last year, and I think
yeah.
not that many people liked Connor Williams, but I would take Connor Williams over Connor McGovern.
Really?
Um, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're the same dude, quite honestly. But
Yeah, okay, yeah, I could agree there too, yeah.
Connor McGovern, maybe he was just a what the hell is like a affected by his
Uh,
environment, right? Like he was just a rotational piece for Dallas, where at least Connor Williams was a starter for the majority of his time with Dallas. Product of his environment, I guess. That's
yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, and that's probably why they weren't going to match it because I actually do agree with you too, is that he is probably he was helped more by having Tyler, in his career having Tyron Smith on his left side, or
mm-hmm.
Tyler Smith this year on his left side, and then also, Tyler Baidaz, as Stephen Jones likes to call him, uh, having him being around,
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I could see that. And now that you say that, I still don't agree with you, but I do understand your point of view though, because I do think he was a better starter than Noah Brown was a contributor. especially for
Whoa,
the
wait.
durations of
So
their
you're
careers.
saying Connor McGovern
Yeah,
contributed more than Noah Brown? Yeah, yes. Yeah.
yeah. Because
But
Noah
I
Brown
think
never did anything on offense until this year, and it was only a couple of games.
but I think that's why I would say that Noah Brown leaving is more impactful than Connor McGovern because who's your wide receiver core right now? CeeDee Lamb and who?
Well, I
Might
think
Michael
that,
Gallup, but like I
yeah,
mean Noah
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Brown, kind of was your number
Well,
2 last year.
yeah, that's true. But I think I think that you can, that is one way to look at it for sure. And I couldn't argue that that's not right. But the other way to look at it would be to also is that maybe that it just shows you also that they're admitting that he wasn't good enough to be their a number two. You know what I mean? Like that,
Sure. Yeah,
although he
yeah.
was their number two, they're admitting a fault there or willing to do what they can to upgrade that position.
Yeah, and we haven't seen, or at least I haven't seen any numbers on what Noah Brown's getting paid. Um,
Yeah, I didn't see any either on the
I,
any of the tweets.
I'm kind of pumped for him. I mean, I'm happy Dallas didn't bring him back. I mean, not that I didn't want him to come back. I guess maybe I should say that, but like, I was ready to move on Noah Brown from last year.
Yeah,
We could probably do some digging and find the audio, and I'm pretty sure I said was calling for Noah Brown to be cut at some
yeah,
point.
you were for sure. You were. Yeah,
Uh, so to see him walk isn't really an issue for me, and yeah, I'm sure he's getting paid a couple million, you know, 6, 7, $8 million at least, right? Like something crazy. I would
really.
assume someone. I think so. Why? What do you think he got
Well, he's
offered
going
to
to the
walk away
Tex.
from
He's going to the
Dallas?
Texans for 1 year, right?
Yeah, but he's probably gonna be their number one receiver.
But that's even worse than him being the number two in Dallas, right?
I agree, but if he got paid, yeah, I mean not paid like a number one. Don't get me wrong, but I'm sure he's obviously getting paid more than whatever Dallas is willing to offer him,
Right,
and
but
he'll
I'm
have a
thinking
bigger
I'm thinking
role.
that Dallas probably only offered him like $4. So Texans might have offered him $6. And I'm not talking. That's not like a thing of saying that's actually
That's,
6 million. I mean, like it
literal.
might have been
Yeah,
$4 or $6.
$6 and a Happy Meal.
Yeah.
That's messed up. Maybe,
I
but
mean,
we'll see.
yeah.
Um, so those are all the departures. Uh, and again, I mean, those are all the least impact. Like, I don't think we're going to lose sleep over any of those dudes leaving. Maybe you lose a little bit over Connor McGovern leaving just because he was a rotational piece on your offensive line, but um, I think we have another, or I
They
definitely have
probably
another.
weren't. I mean, yeah. I was a little surprised they didn't. Or I mean, who knows? We'll find out like in the next couple of days whether they just said, "Ah, "F it," like go take the money," or did they try to fight for him a little bit? But
I mean, I can't
uh,
see them, them being Dallas, obviously wanting to pay him more than 7.5 million when he wasn't even a
yeah,
full-time starter.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
I don't know.
yeah. I mean, they also probably know that. Listen, they're willing to ride like one more year with Tyron Smith, Tyler. You know what I mean? That has to have some kind of factor in there.
Oh yeah, I'm
Because
sure, right? Because they
because if
probably.
it's not, then like that's crazy. I know it's $7 million. They could have made it work. Either that or they know that in the first 3 rounds they got to draft a guard.
Yeah, which yeah, yeah. Oh, hang on. We're not. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah. Hey,
have
I got
something
you. I
like
got
that
you.
coming up.
Okay,
So
okay, okay.
hang in there. I don't want to get. Fuck it. Let's just get there, right? So you just ruined everything. I'm just kidding. So Dallas traded for Stephon Gilmore, and
Yep,
I'll bring this back to the offensive line. Don't worry.
yep.
So
Okay,
they traded a fifth round pick for Stephon Gilmore, which at face value I think is a huge win for Dallas
yep,
and the Dallas fan base. Like I think this is definitely something to be really pumped about.
yep,
Stash blessed us with some stats. I don't have them off the top of my head, but essentially showing us all the stats that proved Stephon Gilmore was still a top 10 cornerback in
yeah,
coverage.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So really really good stuff just for a fifth round pick. I'm sure it's going to be good money too to pay him, right? Like
It was I it ten. It's a 10 mil. It's $10 million. I think it was an
yeah,
$8 million on a salary, but it's like a 10 million cap hit,
yeah.
which
So
is
like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
I wouldn't say nothing, but like
right,
to get a top 10 corner in the league, that's essentially nothing. So I'm really excited about that. Again, not that it's my money, so I'm not really overly worried about that. But what this
sure,
really does for Dallas long term, um, other than really solidify the secondary, considering they also brought back Donovan Wilson, who we'll get to, um, this puts Dallas in a position to not draft corner at 26,
yeah,
which I think prior to the re-signing of Donovan Wilson and obviously the Gilmore trade was absolutely an option. I think that's
yeah,
off the table now.
I think
barring
so too.
something
Yeah.
crazy. But like, in reality, I think corners off the table, safety's definitely off the table, whatever. So that really puts Dallas in a position to draft wide receiver. And then if for some reason they're knocked out of the wide receiver, you know, top 5 or 6, whoever they have on their top 26 or first round grades,
Yeah.
they can comfortably go guard or tackle or lineman, whatever, and not feel like they missed out on their corner or they missed out on their wide receiver or whatever. So I think they really set themselves up to draft best player available so far. Uh, and if that best player available just happens to be a need, then I think that's even better. We'll see. But so yeah, what do you have for the Gilmore trade? Like I said, I mean, I
I
think it's been huge. Probably the
I mean
best move they've
I
made in the
agree
offseason.
100%. I mean, I didn't watch any Stephon Gilmore last year. All his numbers say good. That he was competing, and actually, I did hear a couple of the Colts guys say that he was really good last year. He did look disinterested from time to time because the Colts sucked,
Yeah.
and he's been with Baltimore, with the Bills and with the Patriots for his whole career, winning. So that shouldn't be a problem in Dallas because we're going to be competitive. You know what I mean? So that's at least that. And it's only a 1 year deal. Like, I mean, if it just doesn't work out, it just doesn't work out. But it was the fifth round comp pick that they traded for him. So that's great. Like that
Yep.
was an extra body that they were getting, that they used for it. And that shows that you're right. And anyway, so you're right. It takes them out of corner, in the first round, unless they had somebody like their number one ranked corner started falling. I think they'd still do it because then it gives
Yeah,
you the
unless
value.
unless they
But
got
that's
something
like you
blown
said, it's
away.
not
Yeah.
realistic. And I never thought they were going to draft a safety in the first round. They're probably not in the first couple rounds. But I mean, I'm happy as hell to get Wilson back. I mean, I love Donovan Wilson's. He's one of my couple favorite Cowboys on the team. I think he's a really, really good. So you're right. Offensive line, maybe a defensive line or a wide receiver in the first round. All the percentages, chances of those happening, all got boosted up.
Yep. Yeah, and so with the addition, or excuse me, return of Donovan Wilson, like you've already said, I, I'm gonna go on the record and say this now. Dallas isn't drafting a secondary player for the first 4 rounds,
Mm,
unless they get like this, CD Lamb type deal again, where like the number one dude in the draft just falls to
sure.
him. Again, there's always an exception to the rule, but I mean, you have your number 1 and 2 corner, or at least your 1 through
Yeah, no,
3 if
that's
you're
your 1 and 2.
including
Yeah, yeah.
Bland, right? Like,
Right.
we'll see. But I think you can say Gilmore's your 2 and Bland's probably your 3. But then you have your Dallas's. Pro-
Before you jump any farther though, because we kind of talked about this too. I mean, what would you do about Jordan Lewis?
I would keep him.
Yeah, I would too. I don't.
I mean, he's too cheap. It was like
He's
what, four or five
he's a
million
professional.
dollars.
I think $5 million. He's a professional.
Yeah.
And you
I,
just and corners you need like as many professionals as you
yeah.
possibly
I
can.
mean,
You can't
especially
hide shitters at corner.
especially with what happened to him last year, right? Like after Brown went down and then Lewis went down. I mean, you
Yeah,
saw dudes like.
who should
Granted,
have been at Home Depot. Yeah,
Mukuamu played really well, and the dudes
he
that
did. Yeah,
pulled off the streets, played like dudes off the streets. But I don't think they want to see that again. So I think the smarter decision would to just let Lewis ride his contract out. Hopefully, he comes
yeah,
back healthy. He'll
yeah,
give you a couple snaps and not be a liability. As like your fifth corner, right? Like that. Like,
yeah,
what's the
yeah.
harm? Maybe it's a couple extra bucks than you want to pay for your fifth corner, but um,
Yeah,
their
the
secondary
only
is set. I don't. Yeah,
if
like
if they do if they do keep Lewis, then I mean, what do you think? They just cut Nashawn, right? Or uh Jesus, sorry,
well, I think
the other
so.
corner, the
I,
second
I,
round
I
pick.
don't think they cut anyone yet. I mean, I'd have to
Oh
look at
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
53 man
yeah,
roster, right? But
yeah,
well, yeah, they're
yeah.
definitely not cutting him yet. But
Kelvin
so
Joseph is the guy I'm
I
trying to think about.
previously
Sorry.
mentioned, they could be moving off from C.J. Goodwin, and they're going to need,
True, true.
and they don't have Noah Brown and Luke Gifford, right? Like, it's three quite
That's
literally
true.
key special teamers. So I think they might be looking to pull from corner maybe a little more, but that's not going to be something we can figure out until
Kelvin
August or
Joseph and
whatever.
Deshaun Wright both played okay there. I mean, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
but I
call
mean
either one of them
they have
Goodwin aces.
but they have actual holes at special teams now. Like,
Oh, true.
if
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you can have a hole at special teams, but
Well, that's what I was saying too. Is that obviously the fifth round comp pick's gone.
mhm.
With Braden Gilmore, but I mean those fifth, sixth, seventh round guys they draft. I mean you're going to draft a linebacker because they're thin at linebacker.
Yeah.
So they might draft one early and kind of later or whatever, possibly. And probably not an early one, but definitely one later. Or maybe that's where Jabril Cox finally gets some playing time.
Yep.
Maybe. You know, uh, but that'll be interesting because you're right. They do need those. They have been contributors. You know, for the last few years, both of them.
Hmm.
And if Goodwin goes, he's been here for a few years too. So yeah,
I think that's another reason why they don't cut Jordan Lewis, right? Like, not to say Jordan Lewis is going to be the special teamer, like, I just they have the depth at cornerback to be able to support throwing corners at
fair.
special
Yeah,
teams. I
fair.
guess I don't, not to say that's the best answer, but as of this moment, which it's obviously only March 14th, um, it is a pretty reasonable answer. Considering a lot of those dudes are on their rookie contracts still. Mukwemu, Bland,
Yeah,
uh,
Joseph Wright.
Wright, and Joseph both
Yeah, yeah,
are. So yeah. Okay, now the last real one that actually returned is Leighton Vander Esch. I was actually really happy about this as well. I think there's definitely still concern with the injury history and level of play, but um, LV had his best year probably last year outside of like his rookie year. I mean, his rookie year was pretty lights out. It might be hard to
yeah,
get back up
yeah.
to that, but um, if Dallas can have Hankins return or get another Hankins caliber type player, um, I would expect Leighton Vander Esch's play to either at least plateau, which isn't exciting, but if he plateaued at this level, I'd be pretty happy with that, or continue to rise. LVE just he has a hard time shedding some of those blocks from those interior offensive linemen, which whatever that's his downfall. But I mean, if he doesn't have to worry about that, the dude's eating up everything East and West
Does
Coast.
anybody shed? I hear that all the time. I mean, like, how many people actually like if a 320, 330 pound guard gets on a 230, 240 pound linebacker, does anybody actually shed blockers?
I mean, so I don't have the answer to that. However, he's like he has an issue. Like he can't get around blocks at all. Like there's got to
Yeah,
be obviously linebackers that can do it, or else nobody would ever call that out. I don't know.
yeah, maybe. Okay, yeah.
Like he's an actual problem if an offensive lineman gets their hands on him.
I guess that's how Hankins was such a big
Yeah, just eating
get,
up double
just
teams.
because he
Right?
just blocked it up. I mean, that's you know, yeah. And maybe he is a guy. I mean, you're right. They do need to replace. They need to bring back Hankins or they need to replace him. But yeah, I was surprised that I'm surprised they spent the money on LVE and Wilson.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
really am.
Considering going
That's
in. Go ahead.
so just saying that we kept getting the tweets, the text messages saying, "Hey, look, I was surprised, just very surprised.
Yeah. I mean, we were pretty much told. Oh no, I
Good luck
closed.
with that."
Oh, there
Yeah.
it is. Um, yeah. Good luck with that, right? Like neither of these dudes are coming back. Like they don't even stand a fucking chance. And then day two into free agency, they're both coming
And
back
I can't believe that. I mean,
at good
Wilson.
prices
I
too.
know Wilson's all of his money is in the first 2 years, the guaranteed money, I guess, or whatever, which is
Yeah.
good. But I can't believe. I mean, and so really, it's a 2 year, what, $16 million?
No, it's 2 year, like 13 and a half.
Oh yeah, 13 and a half. Right,
Uh,
right, right.
14
Which
and a
is
half maybe or something like that.
yeah. But I mean, I'm kind of surprised the Cowboys paid him that much too. Because I wonder if he. I mean, I guess he's his age. Maybe he really wanted to be in Dallas. Maybe he wanted to, really liked it here, or whatever. But I'm kind of surprised. And this might be one of those things where maybe we value our players a little bit more than other teams do.
It's
But
possible. Yeah.
man, I tell you what, Donovan Wilson's one of the more impactful players that the Cowboys have had on defense over the last 15, 20 years. I mean, he's. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, he's no
he
Jeff
is a
Heath, but
playmaker. Right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jeff used to go, so it's
yeah,
okay. Second place is no big deal.
yeah.
But do you like it? I mean, and I can't imagine there's other teams in the NFL that didn't say. I can understand not wanting to pay LVE because he's been hurt plenty of times,
Hmm.
whatever, right? And but man, I was really surprised, like a really happy surprise. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, so before the LVE signing, assuming the money came out to be right for both of these players, and I don't recall if we spoke about this or not. Would you have rather had LVE or Bobby Wagner?
Well, I think we both probably would have been okay with having Wagner, but then the downfall was we knew the money wouldn't be even, so that's how you like always take LVE.
Yeah.
But because I remember saying on our podcast is that Bob Wagner's been a really good player for a long time, but how many of these Pro Bowls or second team All Pros, first team All Pros did he really earn? Yeah, I'm not watching Rams football, but the Rams are dog shit last year.
It's true.
So
They did
how
not.
much of an impact did he really have? I mean, I know there can be good players on the field. You can make plays
Yeah,
and
and
stuff. That's how you get. I mean, that's how you get All Pro. Is you just have to have the stats, but that doesn't mean you're actually. Remember, I mean, Jalen Smith had stats too. I mean, he did. He had 130, 45 tackles or whatever. You know what I mean? Those are stats. I mean, he was tackling 25 yards down the field. Do you know what I mean? I'm
leave him
not
alone.
comparing, Wagner to Jalen Smith. I'm just saying that you can get stats,
Yeah, it's true.
you know.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
mean,
I don't know.
I would have taken LVE.
And
I
obviously, this takes us out of Wagner
oh yeah, yeah,
territory.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Definitely
There's
anybody
no
who
room for him
yeah anybody who
position wise
potentially
either. Yeah.
listens to this, yeah, just write Babby Wagner off. I think hopefully everybody of this Dallas fan base knows that, right? Like you brought back your you brought back your middle linebacker. You're not going to go sign another big name one, right? Like this just doesn't work.
No, no, no. Yeah, there's no and there's room in the linebacker room, and there's room for the Luke Gifford linebacker. The special
Oh
teams
yeah, yeah, yeah,
linebacker. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like so.
yeah, absolutely. Um, do you have anything else?
So I want to ask one more time because
Sure.
I want to bring this up too. Is we talked, I think last week, just real quick, because it's now coming to that season, or it is, we're in the season of people getting signed and cut and whatever about how much money they would save for Jordan Lewis and how much money they would save if they'd cut Zeke. And I heard this was another number. What do you think for $3 million? You could save $3 million on the salary cap if you move on from Neville Gallimore. You in? He's dead last on a depth chart, and
Yeah,
he,
I mean
you
he
know,
definitely doesn't move the meter for me. Yeah, I have no problem with doing that.
okay,
I just and not that you're cutting Neville Gallimore to sign someone in specific, but Dallas is making all of this space for what? Right? Like they traded Amari Cooper last year to save all that
true,
money, and then
true.
didn't really do anything with it. Now they got a couple of dudes in free agency that worked out. Um, I-
Well, you
just
do have
tell
to
me what.
factor in the part too. I mean, they're gonna be able to probably get 1 to 2 more, impactful players, I guess, or whatever, and then they'll probably or slash bargain hunting. But you do got to remember that they trading for Gilmore. I mean, they do have to take that 10 million. That's like basically like half of the money they got back from restructuring Martin and Dak, right?
Yeah,
So like the money does go quick, and I would guess if they don't get like a mid-level mid-level player, not linebacker, mid-level like a lineman or you know I don't know, maybe a veteran wide receiver or something, that they got to use that money to sign up, Diggs or CD now.
yeah.
One of them,
That's what
bang
I'm
them, get them on the way. So I assume that's probably
waiting
what's going
for,
to happen.
right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
just make it happen. What I'm getting at, don't cut dudes for money and then just sit on the money. Do
yeah,
something
yeah,
useful with it, and
yeah.
whatever.
Eh,
Um, so I have a question,
mhm.
and I don't actually recall where I saw this, but I'm not going
Okay.
to take credit for this question. Would you trade Dorrance Armstrong and a third round pick for DeAndre Hopkins, as opposed to what is supposedly the going rate of a second?
Second round pick. Uh,
Or would you
I,
rather trade the second?
yeah, I would rather trade the second round pick. And here is why I say I could be short on it. From what I've gathered, this you know how last year we drafted Tolbert because it was a deep draft and we knew we could push back, get a receiver. He didn't work out the first year. He may never work out, or he may just end up being just as good as uh, Noah Brown, right? Maybe that's the receiver he ends up being, like just that type of receiver. Or this year there's some pretty good receivers coming out in the draft, but it's not a very deep draft for wide receivers, from what I'm hearing. So it might make sense to use that second round pick to draft or to trade for Hopkins to plug in instead of whatever receiver you thought you could get in the second or third round, because
Yeah,
it's I guess a light draft. I mean, you know me, I'm big on Dorrance Armstrong, and he's a good rotational end. and the third round pick. So I would rather trade the second round pick because it's basically a third round pick anyway because it's at the back half of the back three it's like the fourth to the last pick of the second round, right?
Hmm.
So it's basically a third round pick anyway. Let's get Hopkins in here. Now that we've done the Stephon Gilmore trade, let's get Hopkins in here and let's just put all the chips in now.
It kind of needs to
We've
happen,
been at
right?
we
Like
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what was the point of getting Gilmore and not going and getting Hopkins? I have no interest in Odell Beckham Jr. I don't want him for the money that I'm still. I heard
I
today
think somebody said 20
15 to
million.
16 million dollars. Yeah, he that's what he wants. He's on the reefer. You know what I mean? That's the only thing you can think of. He's on the cocaine, whatever. When remember he was on he was at in Italy or whatever, and he had, oh no, maybe it was a different. Anyways, sorry, but I don't have interest in that. I just don't.
Sure.
So he, if he was healthy, he wouldn't be available. So that's the whole reason he's available. He'd still be in Cleveland or the Rams if he was been health wasn't a problem.
True.
Let's get Hopkins has done nothing in his career but produce, and he's never had a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Dak
he
would
had
be the
like
best
Watson
quarterback he
for
ever
like a
had
year
besides
or whatever.
Watson. Yeah.
Yeah, but he had like he was routinely catching 90 balls and 10, 8, 9 touchdowns, 1,200 yards with just dog shit quarterback in Houston. So let's get him in here and let's just go all in. And then if it doesn't work out, this would be the first time that they've gone all in since like early in the Tony Romo era. Like I'm talking about just spending money on free agency and just loading up or whatever. And if it doesn't fucking work out, then we'll be, then let's reload for a couple years from now.
Yeah, I can
So
get down with that.
Hopkins second round pick.
Okay.
We out.
I'll allow it. All right, let's really wrap it up there unless you got anything else.
Uh, no, I'm hoping there's a little bit more action though.
All right. Yeah.
You know,
Hopefully we can come back maybe a little later in the week with some more news. Catch you next time.
see ya.